Good morning. This is Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Let's get started. A look into the Vanguard newspaper for today as a major headline. It says, sugar importation rises as local production falters. Sugarcane farmers lament neglect access to sugar refineries. Top banner says, tariff slash EERC moves to resolve Enugu power outage. Upright Corner says looming strike, federal government to pay 7 month arrears of doctors, health workers. Obasanjo Library kicks as EFCC raids hotel. Peter Obi has integrity. He will keep his one-term promise. MBF says. Lower banner says federal government fresh warning. State mobilize against flooding. You can find the story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. 2027 Niger Delta will support only Tinubu, Utaro says. You can find the story on page 19. And lastly, Tax Reform Act will cripple our operation in 48 hours, AON says. Away from the Vanguard, straight into the Punch newspaper. Major headline on the Punch says, state hit by 68% spike in foreign debt payment. Debt servicing threatens state fiscal stability. Nati says, Lagos, Rivers, others spend 235 billion naira in 6 months. Top corner says, Doyin Abiola media gurus reflect on democracy soldier life. You find this story on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. Flood crisis, federal government predicts more devastation in 15 states. And lastly, another UK-based Nigerian jailed 5 years for rape. You can find the story on page 4 and page 5 of the Punch newspaper. Away from the Punch, straight into the Nation newspaper. Major headline says EFCC Obasanjo Library locks on over arrest of 93 fraud suspects. Anti-graft agency acted on credible intelligence. It was an invasion of OOPL premises. Tabana says, fire me. I remain APC member in Ekiti, ex-governor for Yebanji. FIRS e-invoicing system eats 5 trillion in early surge. 20% of firms join in 2 weeks. Away from the Nation, straight into the Guardian newspaper. Major headline says, congestion, asset depreciation push, and HNIS businesses to a co-Atlantic city. Top banner says Abiodun Daniel Bika over demolition notices on property. New constitution. Senate welcomes recommendations. A public hearing. Atiku Fala no kickers. NYSC defense without certificate. US condemns killing of Christians in Nigeria. Vows decisive action. That's what we have on the front page of our newspapers today. Join us after the break for a quick analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Joining me in the studio today is Mr. Liu Mohammed, CEO Magnet Communications. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ololade. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I look into a top story for today. On August 10th, 2025, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, carried out a sting operation at the Green Legacy Hotel within Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta, Ogun State, arresting 93 individuals suspected of internet fraud. The operation was based on credible intelligence, and authorities recovered 18 vehicles and mobile devices from the suspects. Let's take a look at the operations and the approach. The EFCC described it as an intelligence-led raid. Would you say raids like that are effective when it comes to curbing internet fraudsters or fraud?
Well, you can't rule out sting operations like that when you have a case of a massive implications like drugs and all that. I read it yesterday, and the reaction of Obasanjo's hotel, at this level, I think we should allow justice and investigation to take place in this issue. We should not look at the name or the organization involved. Because you see, we are all Nigerians and we are all subject to all the laws of the nation, either good or bad. We must allow for a thorough investigation into that matter. And that will be more in the interest of former President Obasanjo. If he didn't know anything about it, I am not alluding to the fact that he knows anything about it, no. But if he didn't know anything about it, the investigation will also clear his name, his image, and reputation in this country towers above that of a lot of Nigerians. So I can understand why why there are reservations over the fact that the incident happened in his hotel. You see, anybody can lodge in an hotel. It doesn't mean that everybody that is in the hotel is either Obasanjo's son, his in-law, or somebody that is close to him. So this is the more reason why I think the former president should allow for a thorough investigation into this matter. That investigation will give us the details of the crime involved. If Obasanjo is involved, we will know. If he's not, his name will be cleared. I don't think there is any reason for him to be anxious or worried about what is on ground.
So the ex-president actually confirmed that there was no parole notice, neither was a warrant issued as well, calling it a Gestapo style. Would you say
See, in a sting, that's why they said it is a sting operation. If you are going to invade a place, Obasanjo himself, President Obasanjo himself, is a security man. And I'm surprised that because this thing is happening to him, he's twisting the law. In sting operations, I'm coming to shock you, to search your house. Must I inform you beforehand? Will you wait? No, that is a simple analogy. There must be prior notice for a sting operation. That is not acceptable. I think the best thing for former President Obasanjo to do is to keep quiet, because anything he says will be taken against him. He should keep quiet and allow for a thorough investigation from the appropriate sources. The law is no respecter of persons. The law doesn't know whether you are a former president or not. The law doesn't know whether you have been president 10 or 20 years ago or not. No. The law should be applicable to every citizen of Nigeria, no matter the position, no matter the age. So it should allow for a thorough investigation. I know President Obasanjo may start calling top people now, but he doesn't need it. If he wants to clear his name and the name of his hotel, he should allow for an independent and thorough investigation into this matter. That's my advice to him.
So if we look into this incident, do you think there's any way this has affected the way the public will see the EFCC, especially looking at the fact that the cyber crime is appearing more often, is frequent now? Do you think this raid would change how people see?
I don't think so. They are doing their work now. Okay. It's like you seated here and somebody is condemning you for doing your work. No, the guys are doing their work. They are, and in the best way they feel they can do it. If we have a country filled with drug pushers, drug takers, smokers, and all that, there won't be a resting place for anybody in this country. So I support every step that the EFCC is taking to rid our society of drugs and its effects on people. About 3 days ago, I was at ShopRite and I saw a massive crowd surrounding a young lady. She was practically naked. What happened? She took drugs. And unfortunately, she couldn't control herself. She started removing her clothes. It was the ladies and women around, that were now trying to protect her. One removed the headgear. She was lying there. Must we encourage such an ugly scenario in our society? No. If you know what drugs is doing in our society, you will commend the EFCC and not condemn them. So President Obasanjo should leave the EFCC alone and allow them to carry out an independent investigation. The fact that he's even shouting now makes him to become a suspect in this matter. I'm sorry to say. I mean, as an elder statesman, I will allow the EFCC to do whatever investigation they want to do before I talk. What is he saying? As president, if Obasanjo were the president of Nigeria today and a former head of state is saying what he's saying, he will abuse that person. He will call him names. So he should please not wield his influence on this issue. He should let the FCC do its work and come up with a report.
So, what institutional check and balance should, be effective for the EFCC as well, so that cases like this will not repeat itself, where, people come and say there's no warrants, it's not enshrined in the constitution, there was an abuse of power.
You should understand the way security works. I am coming to your house. I am suspecting that you have done something wrong, and we want to get to the root of the matter. Must I call you to let you know that I'm coming? It's stupid for any security agent to do that. Well, I mean, you said it, you read it yourself, that in a sting operation, it is not an operation they went for without knowing why they were there. It is not an operation that they went for without any information. They knew where they were going and they went straight to the room. What are we talking about? In fact, those boys should be commended. I'm surprised that President Obasanjo is saying something that that is not supposed to come out from him. He's an elder. He is a disciplinarian. He was former president of Nigeria. He was the one that tried to wage a war against indiscipline, and I'm surprised that he is the one that is encouraging the same indiscipline today.
Away from that, into a second story. The federal government issued an urgent alert via the National Flood Early Warning Center, warning of heavy rains and potential flooding between August 10th and August 15th, 2025, and this will be affecting 14 northern states: Niger, Kwara, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Kogi, Benue, Kaduna, and Kano states. So let's look into the federal government warning system. Do you think this is early enough, and how effective is this?
Today is 10. Today is 10. That means it could happen anytime from today. You see, the problem I have with Nigerians is that a lot of us, without any reservation, are lawless. We are lawless here. You have a state government coming up with a structural plan for an area. People will go out of that plan and restructure. You watch Ikorodu about, I think last week, when it rained and they started shouting, "Come and rescue us, oh, we don't have anything, no clothes, nothing." The flood was half into their houses. Is that good? Because you see, it's like using your hand to destroy what you have built. There is a plan for every area, and everybody that wants to build a house is supposed to follow that plan. But here we disobey because we don't want to pay to land use. We don't want to pay land use charges. We don't want to pay Lagos State Ministry of Lands. We don't want to pay State Ministry of Lands any money. You just want to hop on a land and start building. That is the result we get. So the earlier we listen to this warning, the better. And this warning, as far as I'm concerned, may not yield the desired result, because you cannot ask somebody who has built his or her house in the wrong place to move it or to start constructing a fence. No matter how high the fence you have constructed, if you have a big flood, that fence will come down. So people must be careful when they want to start a building project. Follow appropriate government guidelines, pay the appropriate fees, and you have this peace of mind that I have fulfilled all righteousness, and you won't have any fear. If you have been told that you cannot build on this land, and because government officials don't come, you now go there and erect a house, it's at your own peril. Government is not going to suffer any loss. If anything happens to that victim, it is at the discretion of government to pay compensation. It is not by force. So we have to be careful the way and where we construct our houses. That is most important. All these announcements may not yield any result. I mean, I must be blunt with you. Somebody has already built his house on on top of a canal, and you are warning him that you are going to have flood and his house is still there. The best he can do is to vacate that house. But that anything will happen to that house, it is sure something will happen to that house.
So concerning the issue of flooding, do you think there are scalable long-term solutions that can be adopted
to what?
The flooding, especially
flooding. You see, like I said it from the beginning. The best way to avoid the flooding is to adhere strictly to government regulations on where to build your home or houses or offices. There are areas designated as dangerous, flood prone, but people will go and erect structures there because there is no government official that is likely to visit the place, or they will even go to the offices and bribe government officials that will come ahead. Then when there is a little rain, the entire house is flooded and you start shouting. You want compensation. And so we must be proactive. I won't be looking for a land to build a house now and go to a flood prone area and go ahead during the dry season to build a house. When it is raining, what will happen? So we all have our houses, and some of us did thorough investigation before starting. So people should emulate that, because at the end of the day, it is that person that is not obeying the rules that will suffer losses. So it is in your own interest to adhere to the regulations and rules concerning where to build your houses. There are some areas that are designated for bungalows alone. People will go there and build two-story building, and when plane is coming, you start bending your head inside. So we should avoid lawlessness in building our homes.
So beyond the demolition, like you suggested, and raising awareness concerning this, there are opinions flying out on social media, people saying, aside the alert, there should be shelter provided, emergency response team as well. Do you agree with this opinion?
Well, we have some places, resettlement centers all over the country. They don't need to build anywhere. Each state has a resettlement center. Lagos have its own on Ekpe Road, somewhere around Ekpe Road. If there is an emergency, they evacuate the victims and take them there and start giving them food. A landlord that was supposed to be in his house will now be living on a ration of food per day. So is it not good that you obey the rules and avoid embarrassment? If the government is saying don't build here, avoid it. But people will go and build in the exact place that they said you shouldn't build, and there the government. If the government moves, you start shouting. They want to demolish my house. So what have I done? But you have broken the law. A lot of us are lawless in this country. Take for instance, somebody came to me on Friday. He said an organization in Lagos fined him 50,000. I said, what happened? One of the papers for his car expired 3 months ago, and the traffic light caught him. And he's saying I should come and I said, I'm sorry, I can't do it. You should have obeyed the law. I have the place where I put the expiry dates for my vehicle license. Once I have the alarm a day before, I will call the person that will do it, send money to her, and she brings it to my office. So you cannot run foul of the law if you obey the law. That is the problem we have in Nigeria. People don't obey the law and they start shouting, government, government. Your resettlement centers, yes, we have a big one on Ekpe Road. If it pleases a landlord who has refused to listen to government directives about building in the right places, that person will go there.
That's on today's segment with the
Mm.
Mr. and Mrs. Mr. says, I'm determined to create the best design for the space, and I need a benchmark to guide my vision.
Mhm.
Mrs. says, the space is for a master bedroom. What do you need a benchmark for? What
Mhm.
we need is a bed mark.
You see that the man is right. The wife wants a bench. I mean, the husband wants a
Benchmark,
benchmark. The wife wants
a bed
a
mark.
benchmark. So whose priority
The
will be
wife.
topmost?
The wife. We
That's
call it
all.
a wrap on the show for today. Remember, you can follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen and on our website at www.bankatngr.com. My name is Olola Diadomi. Have a lovely day.